The Packathon is a very special event that we look forward to every year. It is such an amazing team of people that come to help. We have a lot of fun and we are all working together for a common cause across the world. In 1998, the ISIS team began working in mobile health clinics in central Uganda, and it was during this time visiting the various villages that we heard an overwhelming cry from the community that there were many mothers and their newborn babies dying during the childbirthing process. The ISIS team visited Chuoko Hospital and witnessed the devastating reality. Every delivery that the hospital encountered was a high-risk delivery. The staff had no formal pediatric training, and they had very little in the way of supplies or equipment. To save a baby's life, there are a few critical pieces of medical supplies that are necessary. We didn't have these available at Chuoko Hospital, and in fact we couldn't find them in Uganda. And so ISIS and Chuoko Hospital decided to partner and build a neonatal intensive care unit where we could begin training and development in neonatal health. When we started teaching the neonatal resuscitation program, the staff adopted these steps very quickly, and it was immediate that we saw change in delivery room practice. The staff are very hungry for education and very willing to give it everything they have. One family who I met on the very first trip gave birth to twin girls weighing about 1,000 grams. The oxygen went out during the night because there had been no power. We came back in the morning and learned one of the twins who was reliant on oxygen had passed away. It was absolutely devastating. We found the other twin in the mother's bed, covered by heavy blankets, barely breathing, and she was quite cold. There was no NICU at that time, and we had very few supplies, so to warm her we had to use the hat from the doll we used to teach resuscitation. We taped it on to fit her tiny head. We used gauze as a diaper, and we used a rubber glove to keep the gauze from soiling, the only blanket that we had. We cared for that little girl in an old incubator we found that was about 30 years old and didn't work anymore. We put her on the hot water bottles to try and keep her warm during the times when her mother was recovering and not available to do kangaroo mother care. Too small to drink, we fed her with the one small feeding tube that we had. We realized very quickly, how were we going to be able to provide training and education to deliver neonatal health without having the tools available to do the job? So I had an idea. I knew that at every delivery in Seattle we would have all of the emergency equipment set up. 9 times out of 10 we wouldn't need this equipment, and so we would just throw it out. Rather than throwing away these unused critical supplies, why not save and bring to Chuoko until we were able to figure out a long-term solution? When I arrived back in Seattle at the University of Washington and talked to the staff about this plan, they wanted to help right away, and soon other hospitals wanted to participate as well. Next was Children's Hospital, then we had Evergreen Medical Center, then Providence Everett Hospital, we had Whidbey General Hospital, Northwest Medical Center, Overlake Medical Center, Swedish Medical Center, Providence and Olympia, and Tacoma General.
In no time at all, they were gathering bags and bags of used medical supplies, and then we would need to gather it all up.
It's amazing to see all the stuff that people discarded.
And as the word spread in central Uganda that there was a unit which could care for your sick newborn, the admission numbers at Chuoko Hospital began to grow. Our donated supplies were already saving hundreds and hundreds of lives. In addition to donations of medical supplies, we needed some bigger pieces of equipment. We were quickly able to secure a couple of infant incubators, and then again, as the word got out, hospitals started donating very critical pieces of equipment. The first Packathon was held down at the shipping warehouse over a number of days. We quickly realized that we would need many more hands to help sort and count these generous donations. The next year we held the Packathon over a 3-day period, and we had these teams of angels who came and sifted through thousands and thousands of medical supplies. I would say that all that were at that Packathon are still at the Packathons today.
That so much of this stuff would end up in the landfill, but now it goes over to Uganda, and to see what they do with the supplies, that it's so critical to them. When a container shows up, they just rejoice. They're so happy because it really is what allows them to do their job, to save babies over there in Uganda.
Every piece that's on that container is very highly valued. As an incubator arrives, you have staff waiting to put a baby into it and wheel it into the unit. The effects of having these tools readily available and the impact that it makes can be seen all around Chuoko. Families come to show us their child, who's now 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, and they say, "This little girl, this little boy, they were a patient in the NICU," and they send their thanks to everyone involved.
When we didn't have the incubators before, we couldn't do much. But now when we are having incubators, we can now save babies, even of 800 grams, which we couldn't because they would die of cold. We are grateful for the Packathon, really, because they see what we actually want, and then they pack for us.
This program has been able to impact lives across the world because of what you put into it. We couldn't have done this without your generosity. We want to thank our dedicated volunteers, our medical volunteers, our local community members. We want to thank our incredible long-term partner in Aspen, Teresa at Courtyard Hall and Celestial Catering, where we've been year after year, Industrial Crating and Packing, who packs our supplies with the utmost of care, and we have our shippers of Multi-Lines and TransOptima, who make sure that our container gets there safely year after year. So please, on behalf of all of us at ISIS and Chuoko Hospital, accept our deepest gratitude. There is many child and mother alive today because of your dedicated volunteerism. Thank you.
Debbie always does a thank you to everyone who's here, but I think the biggest thank you to be to her for all that she's done and all that she sacrificed to do such amazing work in another country. You can't say